Welcome in America's accountant, Mr. Dan Geltrude from Nutley, New Jersey. Thank you very much, Dan, for coming on and taking the time. What were your thoughts? I mean, I kind of laid it up for you there. What are you looking at, and what do you think is going to happen going into, say, the 18th when the Fed meets?
All right. Well, if we start with what happened with those jobs numbers, Scott, I was not surprised at all that they didn't meet expectations. The job market just isn't what I guess we would say the administration is trying to tell everybody that it is. But what's more disturbing is the downward revisions from the prior months, because it looks a little suspicious, because every time there's a revision, Scott, it goes in the same direction. It's always down. Why is that? So if you're off on your estimates, shouldn't you be over sometimes and under other times? So it makes me think that, like, are these numbers being inflated? How much can we really rely on that? Because later on down the road, when nobody's paying attention, oh, by the way, last month, oh, by the way, the month before, we have to revise all those downward. I don't like that, Scott, and I think that makes people really wonder how much we can rely on these job numbers.
Well, I mean, after the 818,000, overstatement of jobs for the last year, I don't think that a lot of people can put a lot of comfort in them. And I've said this, what I said on Friday, it's just a survey, Dan, and only 45% of the respondents reply. So why are we making such big economic decisions on something we're not even getting half the picture? And to that point, the JOLTS numbers, again, on only 35% survey rate. So we're making big trading and economic decisions on the back of the fact that we're not getting the whole picture, which is why I think sometimes we get those big 818,000 revisions to those numbers. But to your point, when it comes to like standard deviations, I think we're out to the fourth, maybe fifth. Some have said 8 standard deviations when it comes to how this could happen week or month in and month out, where we're overstating always to the upside and having to revise lower every single time. It's almost statistically not possible.
You're right. And on top of that, Scott, add in this, that if you look at 2023, of all the jobs that were added, 25% were government related. So does that even count? In my mind, just throw those out completely, because that's not really economic growth. Now, as far as what we'll see in the coming months with economic growth, I think the Fed is now going to start lowering rates. Is it going to be 25 or 50 basis points? We'll see. But I believe that's going to be the beginning of a trend to try to spur economic growth, which I think it will. But when we look at what's going to happen with job numbers going forward, Scott, I think when you look at AI and you look at outsourcing, I think that's going to be a real challenge in the long term to see a growing job market, because employees are simply too expensive. So employers are going to look for a way to take those numbers down.
That's the only way you get out of a recession, bottom line. I mean, out of inflationary problems, is put us into a recession. That's what I meant to say. But you're exactly right. I think that unemployment rate, although it did fall from 4.3 to 4.2, small golf clap for the government there. But still, I think you see that go over 5%. And once it gets to between 5 and 5.5, then you can start to you'll start to rehire at lower rates, and that's how you get out of that inflationary spiral that we can't seem to be getting ourselves out of. And I think that that's probably the most criminal thing about the whole thing, and criminal is probably too harsh of a word, but when he makes a mistake, being Jay Powell, and lets inflation get up to 9.1%, and the only way that he's going to get out of his mistake is to put you all out of work so he can bring down inflation, I don't like the way that sounds or smells either.
No, but that's really the truth of the matter is when you look at how the Fed is always tooling around trying to get the perfect scenario, it's not perfect, Scott. It's all manufactured. It's not real. So until we let economic growth just go on its own so we know it's real and government stops spending, this is what we're in for.
2 things before we go. First of all, I can't say, but that's a very nice, your sartorial flair is showing through today with that nice tie. I appreciate that very much. And then secondly, I think we've had an addition to the family. Is there some sort of picture I'm supposed to be seeing here? There we go. Oh, that's even better. That's fantastic.
There we go, Scott, right? That's my grandson, William. He joined the herd on August 12th. So we're getting him right in with where he needs to be with cow guy clothes.
That's fantastic. He should save that for Halloween. All right, that's fantastic. That makes me smile. Thank you very much, Dan, for coming on. Dan Geltrude. He's America's accountant coming to us from Nutley, New Jersey. So let's